So I Hi, I'm Shreya Gokani. As Jacqueline said, I have been an active co-organizer for Calgary Software Crafters Club, and I began my journey as a. I'm here to lighten your work or rework that we come across when we are developing things. By this, I mean I'm here to give a lightning talk on how I discovered a technique that helped me develop, and that's unusual, where we write our script test cases first. That helps us and eventually develop the code that we are intending to do. This technique is known as TDD, or test driven development. About me, if I talk, I was a fresh graduate out of that came out of the training of Infosys and was based for developing the applications for State Bank of India. State Bank of India is a nationwide bank in India, and I was fortunate enough to develop the application that we were building. So the application was a banking application, and uh, as a fresh graduate, I was always enthusiastic and eager to develop things. I wonder everybody would be like that, like jump onto the development and want to eagerly see what we are developing and what the outcome is coming. So in this excitement and this eagerness, we sometimes miss the minute requirements that are there given to us, and that could lead to blunders, I think. Not even blunders, but that could sometimes lead to a lot of rework and back and forth with the testing team as well as the client team. And that brings up the client dissatisfaction. I don't think anybody wants this in their careers, not even the careers, but their day-to-day working methodologies. This was about my journey as a fresh graduate. But then, as soon as I moved to Canada, I started working as a freelancer. And as well as I started going for networking events. That's when I came across this wonderful and cool club, Calgary Software Crafters Club, who had hosted an event of Code Challenge. Uh, I thought it would be usual code challenge event in which we would be doing the code challenges on lead code or something like that. But this was something unusual. They were teaching addition of two numbers. Just imagine addition of two numbers in totally different approach. And this approach was using TDD to write the logic for addition of two numbers. Uh, so in this, we wrote the test cases first, and that eventually helped me develop the logic. The TDD approach uses the red-green refractor cycle. So basically, the cycle is all about three steps. The first step is the red cycle, in which we write a failing test. The failing test means we write a basic code or infrastructure which does the basic things. Like, for example, this is a file, logic file, that returns something and exports the function. This is the test file that that's expecting 9 as the outcome. We wrote this basic thing and we ran the test to see whether we are doing something right or wrong. But it failed, and we were happy because it did something eventually. Then comes the green cycle, in which we write the bare minimum code and make it pass. So in this, we changed the logic file to return 9, as my test file was expecting 9. Also added two parameters, that is 4 and 5, that is showing that 4 plus 5 would give 9. And we ran the test. It passed. We were happy. It was working. But then, do you think in the software development, anybody coming from the outside world, or if I left my job, anybody picking up my work would understand what I was trying to do? No, correct? Because it's impossible what goes on in other person's brain to interpret what is going on with the other person. So it's always a best practice to keep our code such that it shows what is the intent behind the code that we are trying to do. That is, it should be understandable as well as readable, and that is what refactor cycle means. Improve the code quality that and make it understandable. So the third cycle, we renamed the file hiker.js to calculator.js so that it was more understandable that it's doing something related to calculator, and renamed the test file to calculator test.js, added a comment on line 6 that says addition of two numbers, so that even on my test file, when I run my test case, it says addition of two numbers. So a person coming would interpret, okay, the person is trying to add two numbers. And I ran the test to check whether I didn't break anything. That's the first thing that we do as a developer, to check each and every time nothing is breaking in our code once we write something. So addition of two number was coming perfectly fine and it was passing. But then we repeat the cycle until and unless we are content with our logic, or we are happy with what we wanted to achieve. So we try to write a failing test again. The failing test says we wrote a failing test writing 5 plus 5 that would return 10. And we didn't make any change in calculator logic file. And we run the test case and it fails because it was expecting 10, but it got 9. And now we again refactor the code and we change the logic file to accept two parameters and return a plus b. That is what we were expecting, the intent for behind the code that we wanted to do, that is addition of two numbers. And we ran the test, it passed. And we achieved the code that we were trying to do. So this was the red-green refactor cycle that we followed. It says red for the failing test, write the test that fails, green for making the code pass, and refactor for improve the code quality by refactoring. This was what I learned in my first code challenge event, and it was really very interesting, and it was a game changer for my development career. And as soon as the goal of TDD was it improves the code quality, it encourages better design, it introduces fewer bugs, and there are very less chances of missing requirements because you are gathering all the requirements at the first stage, that is when you're writing your unit tests. As soon as I moved to I switched my job with City of Calgary, I was tasked with my first task. If it was old me, then I would directly jump onto developing my task that I was given. But the new me knew this new technique that I learned at the code challenge event, and that's how I approached my first task. And you won't believe, my leaders as well as my peers were amazed and were they knew it, but they were like, there's a developer who approaches it this way, and they were impressed and happy as well. So thank you, and here I am for any further questions.
I don't have a question, but
Yeah.
I just have a feedback that I was introduced to TDD last semester, and I currently study at SAIT, and I'm in my last semester of my program. And I did some JUnit testing. It really helped me actually because at first you don't know what you have to do, but since when you write failing test codes, it helps you analyze what you are supposed to do, and then you achieve it first, and then you keep on refactoring it until you achieve a certain result. And yes, it really helped me. It saved my time and it generated efficiency for me instead of going into writing a code just from scratch. But instead of writing tests first, it's a really good practice. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I even faced at my first task, that I had like a good infrastructure for the logic that I wanted to build, and that really helped me. Yep.
If people want to learn more about test-driven development, do you have any recommendations?
Uh, yeah, there were some videos that I followed. I would definitely put their links in the chat. Uh,
And Forrest, do you have a question?
Uh, yes. So how do you TDD when the requirements aren't clear, or they're not a full set of requirements?
Sorry, what was your last question?
If the requirements are not clear or the stakeholder has not given the full set of requirements, how do you TDD?
So yeah, the way I approached it is like I made the demo thing. Whatever requirements were given to me, there was a aspect ratio. What would functionality that was there in one of the application. So the requirements weren't clear at all. So the way I approached it was, it has to do something to do with the aspect ratio of an image, but the how what type of aspect ratio they want, how much they want, that was not clear. So I approached it, I tried to add as much test cases as I knew, and develop that. And then I took that part to the stakeholder and asked them whether they were expecting something like this much, or were they expecting something different. But by just showing them the test cases that I had written, that was much clearer, rather than just running the whole application. I just showed them the test cases, and it was much clearer to them from test cases.
That's really cool. I think that's the principle of BDD and even agile development, where you show things up front as early as possible so you get quick feedback. Something
Yeah.
I like about having an example or having those test cases is generally people don't know what the requirements are up front, even if they're the person who's the stakeholder, until they see the example and they can go, oh, I don't like that, or that won't work.